Hi there. After reading a viewer's comment on one of your videos about a strange experience they had with a family member, I noticed striking parallels to my own experience and decided to share it with you. My family owns a beach house in a small coastal town on the Mexican Gulf. I'll keep the town's name confidential to protect the locals and preserve its peaceful atmosphere from potential UFO hunters. For the sake of anonymity, I have replaced our actual names with pseudonyms. One summer vacation while visiting our holiday home, my little brother and I had a very strange experience. Jimmy, a latecomer or caboose baby, is 14 years younger than my sister Samantha, who is 4 years younger than me. Jimmy adored me and we cherished him deeply, as one does with a much younger sibling. Unfortunately, Jimmy suffered from a very dangerous condition. At the age of 5, he was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm. Due to its size and position in the brain, the surgeons felt that operating would be more dangerous than letting him live with it. Some aneurysms, due to their location or size, are deemed too risky for surgery because accessing them surgically could cause significant harm. Jimmy fell into this category. Living with the knowledge that Jimmy could die at any day and any moment was a terrible ordeal for my parents and the entire family. One night, Jimmy and I went for a walk on the beach. It was pretty late, around 10 o'clock, but my parents allowed Jimmy to stay up later during holidays. He was only 6 years old. It was a warm summer evening when we spotted something strange. As we walked along the beach with the waves washing around our feet, Jimmy pointed out a bluish light over the water. At first, it seemed like a star, but it quickly became clear that it was not far off in the distance but very close to us. It started as a dot of light, then gradually expanded into a circle. We stood there in awe, watching this incredible sight on a tranquil evening with the water around our feet. It was both scary and immensely beautiful. Then something truly awesome happened. Hundreds of little lights emerged from the circle. Later I thought of the circle of light as a sort of portal that allowed these little lights to enter our world. They looked almost like fireflies, but fireflies don't come from a light portal. They don't normally fly over the sea, and they certainly don't have a bluish tint. These little points of light floated in the air about a meter above the water, gently moving around as they dispersed. Meanwhile, the circle or portal closed up. The little lights then started moving towards each other, still over the water. Gradually, they coalesced into one huge orb of light. At this point, I told Jimmy that we should probably leave. However, Jimmy was not scared at all. He seemed completely mesmerized by the sight. The light orb suddenly moved towards us. I was horrified. Before I could grab Jimmy to run, it came right up to us, pushing me away and completely enveloping him. I fell backwards onto the sand. As I lay there looking at it, the light flashed incredibly bright, to the extent that I could not see my little brother, only the intense light. I was terrified. In that light, which had the force to throw me across the sand, was my little brother, whom I cared for deeply. This lasted only a few seconds. Then the light started losing its intensity, and the next moment it seemed like static on an old television screen, before it fragmented back into hundreds of separate little points of light. I noticed my little brother's body lying on the sand. As I got back onto my feet, this swarm of light started moving rapidly, forming a long, stretched-out, line-shaped formation heading back toward the portal that had silently opened behind me. I rushed to Jimmy, who was coming too. He seemed a bit dazed. I wanted to carry him, but he insisted on walking. I was shocked at what had happened, but besides a bit of a dazed state, Jimmy seemed completely fine. He was totally unperturbed. Eventually, I insisted on carrying him home, which is about a 10-minute walk from where this happened, and he allowed me to do so. During our walk, neither Jimmy nor I spoke about what had happened. When we got home, He said he wanted to go to bed. I greeted our parents as we entered the house and immediately took him to his room, tucking him in for the night. As I came back downstairs, Mom asked why Jimmy was not taking a bath, but I assured her he was tired and should bathe in the morning. Obviously, I yearned to tell my parents about what happened, but then I thought about how unbelievable the entire event sounded. If they didn't believe me, they might think I was making it up, and if they did believe me, they would be terrified about what happened to Jimmy. So, I decided to calm down and say nothing. Believe me, that was really hard. The next day, Jimmy seemed fine, energetic, and playful as usual. I gently asked him about the previous evening, but he had no recall of the lights or the event. About a month later, Jimmy had his regular checkup at the neurology clinic. My mom and Samantha took him that day while Dad was at work. The clinic made a surprising discovery. Jimmy's aneurysm had completely disappeared. The brain tissue that was once displaced by it had now filled the space where the aneurysm was. A few weeks later, my mother shared with me that on the day she and my sister brought Jimmy back from the clinic, she was a bit surprised. Jimmy didn't seem as excited about the news as she and Samantha were. At first, she thought maybe Jimmy, being a little boy, didn't fully understand the significance of the diagnosis. She asked him if he was surprised or happy about what the doctors had found. Jimmy responded saying, "But I already knew, because the man in the light told me they were fixing me." Intrigued, she asked him who he meant by the man in the light, and all Jimmy said was, "At night, on the beach." She chalked it up to a child's vivid imagination and left it at that. When she told me this, I felt compelled to share the whole story of the event Jimmy and I experienced at the beach with both my mother and father. My mother believes me, but my dad remains skeptical, simply saying, "I'm sure you guys experienced something." I tried to approach the topic with Jimmy later on, but he seemed completely unaware of what I was referring to. Jimmy recently graduated as an architect. He leads a vibrant and healthy life. We haven't revisited the topic of that night since, but whatever happened there, I believe it healed him and paved the way for his future. Sincerely, Arnold. Please help us uncover more hidden stories like this one by subscribing, liking, commenting, and ringing the bell. Your support boosts the algorithm and promotes our videos, allowing this channel to grow. Thank you.